Shalom, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. This is your brother, Zakaria Allah, branch down here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Coming with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect. Before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Vachaha Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who teach well. Shalom to the Akim out there that's pushing the truth, that's laboring in the word, and that's pushing the gospel of the great kingdom that's soon to come. Shalom to the Akwath that's listening in, that's remaining true to the faith, remaining faithful and submissive to their husbands, and guiding their children. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes that scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. To you Israelite foreigners out there who live among the heathen, and who look like those heathen nations. But your lineage goes back to the progenitors of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel through the line of your fathers. I want to say peace and blessings to you all, Barakatham. All right. And again, double honors to my apostles, all right, bishops and elders who rule well and who teach well in these scriptures, man. All right. Who taught this truth. And here we are. All right. Full circle. Once again. You know what I'm saying? Before I go forward with this, I want to declare fair use on the copyright disclaimer. All right. The Copyright Act of 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976 states allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. And what I'm about to show you is for educational purposes only. I repeat, what I'm about to show you is for educational purposes only. All right? So, we're seeing what's going on with this this pestilence, all right, that has escaped a cruise ship, all right, and how you know that this is all right. This is all. I'm gonna watch my words here, all right. How you know this is all unusual is because they did not quarantine these passengers on that cruise ship. All right, they allowed them to leave. All right, not just leave the ship, but to go take flights and go back to where they came from. All right. This is how you know that this whole situation that's unfolding is rather peculiar and, you know, unprecedented. To have not quarantined these dozens of individuals. Okay? I'm gonna get this in the book of Psalms, chapter 10, and starting at verse 2. It says, "The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous whom the Lord abhorreth." All right. So let me get this video real quick. All right. This is from your good old boy. All right, Billy Boy Gates of Hell, man. Check it out.
And it won't be the last pandemic. The next one could be far more severe. I mean, this one, it killed millions. It was awful. We got the vaccine. You know, actually, President Trump's leadership was a factor in getting that out quickly. And so when I spoke to him, I said, okay, here's some other medical innovations, including a thing called an HIV cure that could be accelerated. So, we should be more prepared, both for a pandemic. I'd say that's still number one. You can worry about nuclear war. You can worry about AI.
This
There's
sounds like fun.
plenty to worry about. But
do you
overall,
sleep
I'm
at
an
all?
optimist.
Okay. Well,
No, I mean, it's up to the government to think ahead on behalf of the citizens.
Yes.
So, pandemic, there's a lot that we should be doing that hopefully we'll get our act together before the next one comes. Overall, the innovation in health, both in the developing countries, the rich world, I love being part of that.
I was reading, though, that you said the next pandemic you are predicting within maybe 25 years. Is
Oh,
that
certainly
accurate?
we'll have one in the next 25 years. There's even some pathogens out there that we're watching over right now.
There you go, man. There you go. All right. What did he mention? He mentioned pestilence. He mentioned, nuclear devastation. All right. And he also mentioned AI, artificial intelligence. Okay. So the question is, how would you know all of that? How can you be so certain? All right. Well, you can be certain if it's coming, from within. I'll say that. This is Job chapter 15 and verse 5. It says, "For thy mouth uttereth thine iniquity, and thou choosest the tongue of the crafty. Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thine own lips testify against thee. Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thine own lips testify against thee." See what I'm saying? Give them the mic long enough and they'll tell you the truth. All right? And it doesn't take much to figure it out. All you have to do is just read between the lines. You know what I'm saying? Read between the lines. They hide a lot of things behind the smirk. All right? Behind a subtle smile, man. So we're here again, you know what I'm saying? Back full circle. All right, like I said. And this is hey man, what we've seen happen before is going to be on a far greater scale. All right. And you got jokers that's saying, "Oh no, that's it's not gonna reach here, it's not gonna reach it." It's literally the same type of talking points, if you will, that's been made, all right, back in 2019 when we said, "Hey, watch yourselves, watch these devils, watch how they move." All right. There were people who listened to the prophets back in 2020. All right. There are people who listened to the prophets then, but there were many others who did not listen to the prophets then. You see what I'm saying? So if that ratio was what it was back then, all right, it's going to be even worse today because so much more is at stake. It's going to be far more than you just not being able to go to the gym. It's going to be far more than you losing your job, far more than you not be able to get on a plane or go to a restaurant. It's going to be far more than that. All right. Now they've compounded it with a global food shortage. They've compounded it with famine. They've compounded it with global trade markets plummeting. All right, supply chains being disrupted. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Now's the perfect time to bring forth this pandemic, to bring forth this pestilence. You see? Now is the perfect time for it. And as I'm going to show you, all right, again, this is fair use. All right, this has already been brought to your face, man. Remember what we say that they perform. They perform what's known as revelation of the method. All right, revelation of the method. So let's get this next video. Bear with me.
they want to discredit you. For what?
Because I'm a dangerous man, because I know too much about the truth.
Now, that end of the world apocalyptic garbage, you right?
You know my work? I was right about Dallas, wasn't I?
How were you right?
Are you familiar with the hantavirus, Agent Mulder?
Yeah, it was a deadly virus spread by field mice in the southwestern United States several years ago.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus. Are you familiar with what the Federal Emergency Management Agency's real power is? FEMA allows the White House to suspend constitutional government upon declaration of a national emergency. Think about that. What is an agency with such broad sweeping power doing managing a small viral outbreak in suburban Texas?
You're saying it wasn't such a small outbreak?
No. I'm saying it wasn't the hantavirus.
Well, what was it? What was it?
When we were young men in the military, your father and I were recruited for a project. They told us it was biological warfare, a virus.
What killed those men?
What killed them, I won't even write about. We have no context for what killed those men, or any appreciation of the scale at which it'll be unleashed in the future.
A plague?
A plague to end all plagues, Agent Mulder. A silent weapon for a quiet war. The systematic release of an indiscriminate organism, for which the men who will bring it on still have no cure. They've been working on this for 50 years. While the rest of the world have been fighting crooks and commies, these men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon.
Negotiating with whom?
I think you know. The timetable has been set. It'll happen on a holiday when people are away from their homes. The president will declare a state of emergency, at which time all government, all federal agencies will come under the power of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the secret government.
All right. So you've seen it. So you've seen the video. You know what I'm saying? It's from the X-Files. All right, that TV show. And this is what's known. I mentioned revelation of the method. All right. This is known as predictive programming. Predictive programming. All right. Because there are rules. They have to show you these things before they perform them. All right. Let me take you back to this individual. All right. David Wilcock, who just passed away. All right, by apparent unaliving. You know what I'm saying? Self-deletion. Let's listen to his words.
One of the things that I learned from whistleblowers from the cabal itself is that they have to work within something they call the rules. And this is very, very important. The rules state that they have to tell us what they're doing. Therefore, if we allow it to happen, we have consented to tyranny, we have consented to enslavement. Now, if you get into the secret history of the cabal, Queen Elizabeth's royal astrologer, a man named John Dee, who is the prototype of the wizard with the long beard, the hat, and what he did was to rediscover through these ancient documents that were in the Vatican the technology of how to access what they considered to be spiritual beings that were useful to them, but what we would consider to be demonic or evil beings. These beings need to be accessed through a very complex set of rituals and ceremonies. You cannot just ask for them to show up. You have to follow very elaborate and specific protocols. So John Dee rediscovered the technology of how to draw the magic circles, how to say the right incantations, how to actually do black magic on a governmental level. This is what people are going to have so much trouble with once disclosure happens, is that these people actually practice black magic.
All right. So as he articulated there, you know what I'm saying, these people have, all right, they have a set of rules that they must abide by in the spirit realm, because the thing about the spirit world is that, all right, everything is done decently and in order. All right, the Lord allows these Edomites, all right, to use the left-hand side. Okay? He allows them to do this, but it has to be in order. It still has to be in order. Everything is in order. Even in wickedness, everything is in order, man. All right? Even the demons, the devils, are subject to the Lord's will. Right? 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. Let all things be done decently and in order. All right? So even chaos, all right, even in chaos, there's still, all right, there's still a process that must be done, that must be conducted. All right. And so what I wanted to focus on right here in this one shot, all right, at the bottom, it says, not again. WHO runs, all right, P-demic simulation exercise Polaris 2. Last month, the World Health Organization conducted a 2-day pandemic simulation convening 26 countries and territories, 600 health emergency experts, and more than 25 international partners. All right, and so I found that word Polaris interesting. I wanted to look up that word and get some edification out of it. So I looked up the word for Polaris, and it says Polaris is derived from the Latin term meaning the pole star. The pole star. And it refers to the brightest star in the constellation Ursa Minor. All right, commonly known as the North Star. It is significant for navigation as it is located nearly directly above the North Pole. All right. I also wanted to look this up in the etymology. Okay, in the etymology, Etymon Online, it says Polaris. From 1769, short for Stella Polaris. All right, it's the shorter version of the word Stella Polaris. Modern Latin, literally stating the pole star. All right, the pole star. The ancient Greeks called it Phoenix, or the Phoenician star, because the Phoenicians used it for navigation. All right. And what these devils want to do is they want to navigate the world into this new world. All right. And they want to act as that polar star that guides the world into this new governance. All right. Notice how all of this has to deal with light. So let's go to Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 12. It says, let's start at verse 11. It says, thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy viols. All right, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? All right. For those who have been listening for a good enough time, all right, that word for Lucifer in the Hebrew is Hayalal. All right, Hayalal, which means light bearer. All right, or bearer of light. So what these Edomites believe to be, all right, as they call themselves the illuminated ones or the Illuminati, they believe themselves to be bearers of this light that will lead the world, all right, into this new world as the polar star. Right? How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? And that word for heaven is going into rulership. Right? Let me get that real quick. All right, bear with me. All right, so this is Isaiah 14 and 12 again. It says, How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? All right, which didst weaken the nations. So it says, how art thou cut down to the ground? So that means he was from a lofty position, a high position. So let's go into the word for heaven. All right, and that word for heaven in the Hebrew is shamayim. All right, shamayim. All right, when you say the Lord's Prayer, okay, O Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Slakia. Forgive me real quick. Abba Nawa Shabbat Shemayim. All right, Kodasha Yashamka. All right, I don't know why my brain had a brain fart right there, but yeah, that's how you say it in the Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? Abba meaning father. Abba Nawa, our father. Shabbat Shemayim. All right, who art in heaven. Shabbat Shemayim, Shemayim. That goes into heavens. All right. It says dual of unusual singular shemay, or from an unusual root meaning to be lofty. All right, meaning to be lofty right here, lofty. You see what I'm saying? So let's go into the understanding for lofty. What does lofty mean? Lofty describes something of imposing, towering height, like mountains or buildings, or something elevated in character, such as noble ideals, goals, or sentiments. Okay, it can also describe a haughty, arrogant, or superior manner. All right, what do these Edomites have? They possess what's known as a God complex. See what I'm saying? So, from an unused root meaning to be lofty. Okay. Arc. Let's see. Heavens, skies is the outline. Visible heavens, all right, as abode of the stars, as a visual universe, the sky, atmosphere, etc. All right. But what it really is talking about here in this complete context is going into loftiness. All right, loftiness. Okay, so let's continue. Let's go back. So Isaiah 14 and 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down from the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. All right? Mountains, loftiness. You see what I'm saying? These people are prideful. These people are high-minded. These people are haughty. You see what I'm saying? This is talking about a man. This is talking about human beings. All right? Who are placing themselves in a position to try and play God. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. Polaris. All right, Polaris. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. The North Star. You see what I'm saying? And when it goes into north, you know what I'm saying, breaking it down, it's talking about here in America, man. Verse 14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. All right? And when that's talking about brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit, it's talking about brought to a lowly position. You see what I'm saying? How you Jakes, how you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Indians, how you are in this lowly position. All right? O nation not desired. Well, that's going to happen to them. You see what I'm saying? All of that is going to happen to them. When you go into the parable of Lazarus and the rich man, how the roles reversed. You see what I'm saying? When you go into 2nd Esdras chapter 6 and verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right? Verse 16, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee. So when you Edomites are in chains, when you Edomites are brought down, all right, to a position lower than a nigger, you see what I'm saying? All these other nations are going to look at you narrowly, all right? The way that they're looking at you now, how they're looking at the so-called white man, how they're looking at you, you Edomites in such disdain, all right? It's going to be far worse when you devils are finally in captivity. You devils are finally brought down, brought low, placed in chains, put back in them caves. You see what I'm saying? They're going to look narrowly upon you. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? You see what I'm saying? This ain't talking about the spiritual demon Satan. You see what I'm saying? Satan is in order. Satan has always been in order. As the scriptures say, let all things be done decently and in order. I brought that out earlier. All right. Verse 18, all the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house. All right, because after 1,000 years, we're going to allow all these nations, after they serve their sentence, after these nations serve their sentence of servitude, all right, their sentence of slavery for 1,000 years, we're going to allow them to go back to their own lands and be at peace. But thou, you Edomites, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch. And as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as the carcass trodden under feet, thou shalt not be joined with them in burial. All right, you're not going to be at peace with all these other nations. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be the end of you. After 1,000 years, while these other nations go back and be at peace and live in their own homelands, all right, subjecting under our laws, where everything is in harmony, you devils will not go back. You Edomites are going to be eradicated. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. All right, when they sit there and say, "Oh, transatlantic slave trade, that was such a long time ago. Slavery such a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? Trail of Tears such a long time ago. Let's erase all that history from the Smithsonian Institute, from all these national parks. Let's get rid of all that trail, and let's wipe the slate clean. You know what I'm saying? Let's wipe the slate clean as if it's never been done, as if we never did anything wrong. You see what I'm saying? It says, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. You're not going to get the chance to rebuild the way you did in the Renaissance era. You're not going to get that chance ever again. Verse 22, for I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Lord power. So that's going to be the end of your lineage. All right. And that will be the one and only time where there was actually a nation out of the 18 nations that will no longer exist. After that 1,000-year reign, there will only be 17 nations. No more 18. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, man. Going back to this pestilence that they're planning, right? I want to get this real quick. Let's go back. All right, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, lest Satan, all right, and this is going into, all right, this is going into these Edomites here, man. All right, because remember, Satan or Shaitan in the Hebrew means adversary. All right, it means adversary. When you go into devil, all right, in the Greek is diabolos. All right, diablo or diabolos. All right, which means accuser. And these jokers are accusing us, and these jokers are adverse to everything that is the Lord. You know what I'm saying? That is, is orderly, is decent, is proper. All right? Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And this is a truly mischievous device, all right, that they're bringing forth. And it's going to be even worse, all right, than what went down in 2020. All right. Let's see. Let me go to Isaiah chapter 24. All right, I'll close it out here. It's Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 4. It says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The hearty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. You see what I'm saying? Everything that they touch, all right, is an absolute disaster. Everything they touch. All right? Back 2,000 years ago, you know what I'm saying, 3,000 years ago, even the poor were living better than what these people are living out today. You see what I'm saying? Because at least if you was poor, you can still collect rainwater and have something to drink. All right? At least when you were poor back then, all right, you can still go and pick fruit off the trees. Look around you. There's no trees that have fruit anymore. All right, back when I was a kid, there used to always be a fruit tree somewhere. Cherries, fucking raspberries. All right. Apple trees, all types of stuff, man. You don't have that anymore. You see? You don't have that now. So it's time for these devils to be taken out of the way, man, as I mentioned in my last lesson. All right. So I'm going to cut that there. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. This has been your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. In closing, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Ruach Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who teach well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom.